Good evening. The December 6th, 2021 legislative meeting of the Anne Arundel County Council is now in session. Please silence all electronic devices at this time. As a reminder, masks must be worn over your nose and mouth in all county buildings. Please pause for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Pruski.
Thank you. I'd ask that everyone please stand or please bow your heads or whatever you want to celebrate in terms of your religion and respect. But I do want to give a pause this evening. I don't know if any of you read, but we had a detective in Anne Arundel County that was hit by a tractor trailer. I just want to take a moment of silence first to think about them and all those impacted. Thank you. And I also have a prayer that I would like to read, non-denominational. Accept our thanks for this day and its blessings. Guide us and direct our county and its leaders and actions. Grant that we may feel our responsibility to help our community and our country. Bless our fellowship today, and we hope that all decisions that we make promote the general welfare of all of us in the community. We ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. We're going to have the Odenton Severn PAC 209. Please come forward. Earlier, I had them ask questions, and I will tell you they were even tougher than some of my colleagues or some other citizens, but I want to welcome them, and they're going to help us in the pledge this evening, so we'll wait till they come up. All right, you guys ready? Scout salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it.
Thank you to the PAC. I love how we all work together. They had a different pace than we were quick and they were slow, and we met up, it's a good thing. Madam Secretary, please read the ethics statement.
The Ethics Commission has asked that I advise you that under certain circumstances, members of the public may qualify as lobbyists when they testify before the County Council. If so, the law requires that certain information be filed with the Ethics Commission. The chairman of the Ethics Commission has asked that those who wish to testify in any form review the general information on lobbying sheet located on the ethics website under forms and publications. If there are any questions about lobbying requirements, please contact the Ethics Commission at 410-222-4413.
Thank you. May I have a motion to suspend the rules to introduce and vote on resolution number 6021 out of order?
So moved. Allison Pickard.
Is there a second?
Councilman Pruski, second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to suspend the rules to hear resolution number 6021 has been adopted.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read resolution number 6021.
Resolution number 6021, resolution electing a chairman and vice chairman of the County Council. Whereas Section 302A of the Anne Arundel County Charter provides that the County Council at its regular meeting or session in December of each year shall elect a chairman and vice chairman from its membership. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the County Council of Anne Arundel County, Maryland, that it hereby elects Lisa D.B. Rodvian to be the chairman of the County Council, and be it further resolved that it hereby elects Andrew C. Pruski to be vice chairman of the County Council.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Ms. Pickard, you're the lead co-sponsor of this resolution. Would you like to say anything?
Sure, Madam Chair. First, I'll say thank you for your leadership as chair, and to Vice Chair Rodvian, and we'll move forward on the next year ahead with new leadership. So thank you.
Likewise, I'll say, Ms. Radvan, you've been a great vice chair, and I'm very happy to support you being chair. Anyone else? All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on resolution number 6021.
Ms. Radvan.
Aye.
Ms. Hare. Aye. Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Lacey.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution number 6021 is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Well, now that I am chair, thank you, Madam former Chair. I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege to present this wonderful plaque to our outgoing chair, Councilwoman from District 1, Sarah Lacey, who I think has done an incredible job serving us through yet another challenging and year that none of us would have predicted 4 years ago, that we are having meetings online, that we are trying our best to provide for the safety of our residents during a pandemic, and also keep economic activity. We've had many difficult decisions to make, and I want to thank you for your leadership, just not only in terms of the county, but in terms of just managing the council and the chambers during a very challenging time. So thank you, Councilwoman Lacey.
Is this thing attached?
I think it pops out.
Let's sing it for Kaylee. It pops out. We'll never see it again.
New Madam Chair, do you mind if I have a point of personal privilege?
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to take a moment as well. As you know, anytime leadership, especially during difficult and challenging times, I do want to acknowledge Councilwoman Lacey, appreciate, and the Vice Chairman, as many know, with all the meetings and all the challenges, trying to get everything done with staff. I just want to thank both of you, and hopefully as we continue in this last term, all of us can continue to work together no matter what role, and thank you again for your service. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, moving forward. I'm not used to speaking without asking for permission from someone else. So at this point, we will now open our invitation to audience. Madam Secretary, do we have any comments or communications on any subject not included in the printed agenda received from any members of the public?
Yes, Madam Chair. We did receive one submission through the online testimony tool. It was shared with the entire council. It's posted on the website, and it's been added to the record.
Thank you. We will now invite members of the audience who signed up before the meeting to address the council briefly on any subject not included in the printed agenda. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. We have one person signed up to testify, and that would be Kurt Svensson. When you come up, of course, have a seat, state your name and address for the record, and you will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Kurt Svensson, 934 Juliet Court, Arnold, Maryland. Using the 2020 census data, the existing council district map does not meet the 10% legal threshold that renders it presumptively constitutional. In fact, the deviation between the most populous district and the least populous district is at 18.4%. My online testimony includes the support for this fact. Nearly 2 full months after its appointment, this past Wednesday night, commission members and the deputy county attorney openly shared their misunderstanding, that the existing map is within the 10% legal threshold. Commissioner David Kaufman said, "That was what I understood. When I looked at that first slide, I thought that we were all within the 10% legal threshold." But if that's not the case, that's important for us to factor into the discussion. If there is a legal consequence to us not having the 2022 election with the current district populations, then our task is a different task entirely. That's why I'm so concerned about you extending the deadline for the redistricting report from the commission. Yes, the timeline's very tight, but to suggest a simple line adjustment map cannot be approved before the filing deadline is pure conjecture. An extension, however, will virtually guarantee the unnecessary use of a constitutionally unfair council district map in the upcoming 2022 election, in which a person's vote in District 4 will have 18.4% less weight than a person's vote in District 6. I think the election process for county council has significant representation problems. However, I think those problems can be better addressed by proposing amendments to the county charter, not by sacrificing the integrity of the 2022 election.
Thank you, Mr. Svensson.
Madam Chair.
Oh, yes.
Thank you. May I ask either Ms. Kenny or Ms. Blair Klausmeyer to come up for a second? I had a few questions about the testimony.
I'm bringing this because this has my phone.
Lori Blair Klausmeyer, Deputy County Attorney.
May I ask a question, Madam
Yes,
Chair?
go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. Nathan Volke, District 3. Ms. Blair Klausmeyer, I just heard what Mr. Svensson said about the deviations in the districts. My understanding is that there's an ideal district size, which at this point, based on population numbers, is approximately 83,000, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And the constitutional standard is that you cannot have a district that deviates more than 10% from that ideal size. It's not that there can't be more than a 10% deviation between any districts. It's that there has to be within the parameters. If it's 83,000, you can be 8,300 under or 8,300 over, but that's your 10%. Am I understanding the law correctly there?
So that we have been discussing that since the meeting on Wednesday. Let me just say also that constitutional standard applies to redistricting. So if you're redrawing the districts, that's when we're looking at that 10%. We have existing districts that have shifted due to what's happened with the population. Obviously, this is a very strange situation because the census data came out so late, and the appointment of the commission as well as its tasks are all tied to the provision of that census data. In a normal cycle, this would not be an issue because you would be getting it either, immediately after the election or 2 years before the election. But because of the late data, this came through. So the 10%, measuring the 10% has been we've had quite a bit of conversation about it. The way I read the Supreme Court cases is exactly what you're saying. It's 10% up or 10% down. There is a state case that was 20 years or more ago, which read it as you take the ID population, you take 10% of that, and the largest district and the smallest district can't deviate by more than that amount. So that ended up in the software as 5% up or 5% down, which is also not quite right, because if it really is truly 10% between the largest and the smallest, you could have 3% up and 7% down. So in any event, it is something that we are still looking at. It's something that's going to be applied to the redistricting. We don't feel that there's an issue that an issue will be created with the 2022 election proceeding without redistricting.
May I follow up, Madam Chair?
Very quickly.
Okay, I will be. Thank you very much for that. So just that I understand, was that state case a Maryland state case or another state?
It's a Maryland state case,
Okay.
Court of Appeals, based on the Supreme Court decisions nationally. The other issue with the 10% is that it's not a hard and fast rule. I mean, it is kind of the goal.
Sure.
It is creates a prima facie case of if you're under 10%, you're good to go. But there have been deviations well in excess of that have been found accessible for redistricting based on natural boundaries, political subdivisions,
The Maryland Constitution
where you
criteria.
need those
Yeah.
lines to be. So, the 10% is a goal, and it's a goal for redistricting.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. All right. If there's anyone else here who wishes to speak, please come up to the table. And I see Ms. Johnson. And come on up and have a seat. after you're seated. And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on your name. Go ahead and state your name for the record and your address, and you will have 2 minutes.
Thank you. David Dahl, 534 Heavy Tree Hill, Silverton Park, Maryland, Chairman of the Anne Arundel County Libertarians. So, meeting 3, let's talk about our mask mandates here again. I talked 2 weeks ago and 4 weeks ago about the N95 masks and how they actually protect us from the spread of COVID, whereas the masks that most of you and most of the people in the audience are wearing don't actually do that. So I've seen over the last 18 months or so a very draconian push for these vaccine mandates, especially now recently with children. So we're experimenting with experimental gene therapy that didn't see all of the proper testing, and we're pushing that on our children, but at the same time we're not suggesting that maybe we should take some of that federal funding and use it to get $2 masks that actually protect people. So I don't understand why we're going on and on about vaccines that aren't working, because now we've got to get boosters, but we can't spend money on $2 N95 masks. And it's like, it's kind of embarrassing to be up here and be like looking at you like for the third time talking about these N95 masks and how like we're halfway in between wearing the proper PPE, personal protective equipment, and not wearing masks at all. So I think you should like make a solid decision here where either you go with the full PPE or you don't require the mask at all, especially since you're spending so much money on trying to push all these vaccine mandates on these kids. Does anybody want to address this at all, or am I just going to be talking to you guys until Election Day for, every 2 weeks? It's really frustrating. Does anybody want to speak on this? Anyone? This is embarrassing. Nobody?
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Dole, thank you. Mr. Dole, have you had your mask professionally fitted?
I'm sorry?
Have you had your mask professionally fitted?
No.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Johnson, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Julie Johnson, P.O. Box 6634, Annapolis, Maryland. Tonight I'm going to start at the end instead of at the beginning because I never get to the end otherwise. So starting from the end. On January 24th, 2019, there was a hearing in district court because I had filed a motion saying, wait a second, I didn't get any information about that trial on March 6th in 2018, and so I couldn't have been found guilty, because I didn't have, due process of notice and an opportunity to present my case and be heard, have an impartial, judge, and so on and so forth. So here we are, and there were events that happened on the 23rd of January, but I don't have time to tell you about them tonight. So here we are, 24th of January, 2019, and we're in district court, and I have 2 motions before the court. One is to either reopen the original case or vacate it or something, and then on a motion to postpone this hearing because I just realized yesterday on the 23rd, I don't know what I'm doing, and I need more time to prepare, and plus I'm sick. So they said, so we proceeded with the hearing. The judge was a visiting judge, and he was just such a sweetheart. And he opens that document that you have seen before, notice of trial date that's addressed to Julie Johnson, P.O. Box blank, which of course I didn't receive, so you know that. And then, so the judge looks at the attorney from Anne Arundel County, who's essentially serving as the prosecutor, telling him I'm a bad girl, and then at the inspector. And the 3 of them have this, eye-switching thing, and they're all looking at one another. And then they just go ahead and go on. And me, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, I think this should have been thrown out. I didn't have notice, I didn't have an opportunity to defend. There's something wrong here. But they go forward. Oh, Dad burned. Next meeting, you'll hear about all the evidence that I tried to enter.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. We look forward to the continuation of this story next meeting.
Thank you for fibbing.
All right. Is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I was going to make a motion, if I could, to suspend the agenda with respect to Bill 9921, because
You may be
because I'm going to ask, if it gets suspended and we hear it, that it be held until after our next work session. And I know there are people in the room who are here for that, so I don't want to make them wait the whole meeting if that's something that the council's going to do. So I guess my motion at this time would be to suspend the agenda to take 9921 out of order now.
Is there a second?
Hare, second.
And let's see, this requires 5 votes in the affirmative. All right. Are we allowed to discuss this, Madam Secretary? No, this is not allowed discussion. All right. Madam Secretary, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Lacy.
Nay.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The motion to suspend the rules to hear Bill 9921 out of order has been adopted.
All right, so let's see. Shall we put this at the end of the agenda for the evening? Let's put this at the end of the agenda for the evening.
I think
Madam Chair,
Yes.
actually, that would be the first bill heard after Madam Secretary completes introducing the bills and resolutions.
Let's do it that way.
Okay.
All right. Let's see. May I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolution, amendment to a bill or resolution or minutes constitutes the reading of the whole?
Lacey, so moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Allison Pickard.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Madam Secretary, please read the minutes of November 15th, 2021.
The meeting was called to order by Chair Lacy at 7 p.m. and opened with the invocation given by Pastor Maurice Cornwell from Uplift Through the Word Ministries, Pasadena, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Volkey. The meeting was held in the County Council Chambers, Arundel Center, Annapolis, Maryland.
Madam Secretary, please read the titles of any bills to be introduced this evening.
Bill number 10521, an ordinance concerning personnel, employee relations, rights of classified employees, limitation on number of appropriate representation units. Bill number 10621, an ordinance concerning critical area overlay, resource conservation area, farm alcohol production facility. Bill number 10721, an ordinance concerning capital budget and program, OPS comp solar panels sewer, and OPS comp solar panels water capital projects, reduced and supplementary appropriations. Bill number 10821, an ordinance concerning public safety, distribution of literature to purchasers of guns or ammunition. Bill number 10921, an ordinance concerning public safety, security measures for the sale of firearms. Bill number 11021, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, critical area overlay, marina development in buffer modification areas. Bill number 11121, an ordinance concerning finance, taxation, and budget, grant special revenue fund, coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds. Bill number 11221, an ordinance concerning finance, taxation, and budget, grant special revenue fund, coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before we move on to the introduction of resolutions, I find that you've fallen victim to one of the classic blunders, which I frequently made myself, which is skipping a few lines in my script. I don't believe we had a motion to approve the minutes or a vote.
Then if we could all be so kind as to circle back and approve the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of November 15th, 2021?
Lacey, so moved.
Councilman Pruski, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. The minutes of November 15th, 2021 stand approved as read. Thank you, colleague Lacy. All right. At this time, Madam Secretary, could you please read the titles of any resolutions to be introduced this evening?
Resolution number 6121, resolution approving the nomination for reappointment of a member to the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission. Resolution number 6221, resolution entitled Charter Amendment, Executive Branch, appointment and confirmation of the Planning and Zoning Officer. Resolution number 6321, resolution amending certain reporting deadlines required of the Charter Revision Commission.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. At this time, Madam Secretary, could you read the title of resolution number 6221?
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, I need clarification. You would like me to reread the title of Resolution 6221?
I'm sorry, isn't that the one we're moving on to next?
So I believe if you would like, you are able to vote on Resolution 6121 because it is an appointment resolution. Our Madam Parliamentarian can clarify that this one can be acted on this evening if the council so chooses.
We will be looking at that at the end of the meeting. Okay, at this time, let's, I guess, begin our discussion of Resolution 6221? No.
Madam Chair. So I believe what you did is we already had a motion to suspend the rules, so we've changed the order. So I believe what is going to be the next appropriate step is going to be for me to read the title of Bill 9921. Am I missing anything?
Nope.
Okay. So that is what you want to ask me to do, and I will happily do that. There is, if you skip ahead a few pages in your script, you'll get to the portion on 9921 to help us out here.
All right, Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 9921.
Bill number 9921, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, site development exemptions.
Mr. Volke, this is your bill. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So because I am going to make a motion after we get through these preliminaries to hold this until our next meeting so that we can go through work session based on comments I've received back from the administration. They've kindly gone through. There have been a number of questions about this bill. They have worked hard to get the answers. We did get the answers. I think the detailed answers were either Friday or Monday. It was in that time frame. So this work probably, we need a little more time on this one. So with that said, I'm not going to say a whole lot about it other than I'm going to make a motion to hold it when we get to the appropriate point.
All right. Admin, would you like to respond?
Sure. Pete Barron with the administration. And just in the interest of time, I'll echo Councilman Volke's statements and say there will definitely be more discussion about this to come. Appreciate the collaboration as we've been moving forward, and we'll figure it out in the public forum, have the discussion at the work session and the next meeting, I assume. So we're good to hold.
All right. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, moving to hold Bill 9921. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. So sorry to interrupt all of you. Please excuse the interruption. We have advertised this bill as having a public hearing this evening. Madam Chair, it would be more appropriate to move through the script and get to the portion where we close the public hearing, and then you can discuss and address a motion to do something else.
Okay. Thank you. Then are there any questions from the council? All right, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 99-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive any submissions through the online testimony tool for this particular bill.
All right, we will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. I believe there is no one signed up for this bill. Is there anyone in the audience who would wish to testify on Bill number 99-21?
Can I just simply say sort of, but not really, because if the changes...
Come on down either way. If you'd like to testify, come on down and you can have your 2 minutes.
Johnson, P.O. Box 6634, Annapolis, Maryland. If you're going to change it and you're going to have a work session and all the rest of this, then what's the point of having a public hearing if we're, testifying about this little critter over here, but really, the critter that is going to be coming down is this critter over here. And so in the sake, in the interest of time, perhaps there would be, and if I testify tonight, then do I get to testify about the next one? Well, anyway, so those are questions that, somebody else might wonder about and be confused about. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Just for the record, whenever we have a bill that's published to have a public hearing, we do everything we can to have the public hearing on that occasion, on the night that it's been published for. The public hearing on Bill number 99-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 99-21.
Bill number 9921, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, site development exemptions.
All right, is there a motion regarding moving this to, or holding this bill at this time?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volkey, District 3. I move to hold Bill 9921 until our next meeting on December 20th, 2021.
Is there a second?
Second, Allison Pickard.
Madam Secretary, will you call the motion on the roll to hold this Bill 99-21 until our next meeting on December 20th, 2021?
May I ask for clarification? The public hearing has been closed. Are you moving to hold the vote on the bill? Is that
Yes.
what I'm hearing?
Yeah, move to hold the vote.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Lacey.
Still getting used to this order of voting, sorry. Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold the vote on Bill number 9921 until December 20th has been adopted.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. Now we are, help me, are we moving back to, we're moving back into the order of our agenda. All right. Thank you. I appreciate your patience as I get into a groove of this. You guys had to throw me for a loop on the very first night of chair. All right, Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 85-21 as amended.
Bill number 8521, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, adequate public facilities, public schools.
All right, Admin, this is your bill. If you would like to speak, you may go ahead and do so.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Pete Barron with the administration. Joining me is our Deputy CAO for Land Use, Ms. Lori Rhodes, from Office of Planning and Zoning, Mr. Stephen Kai Ziegler, and Ms. Lynn Miller, and from the Office of Law, Ms. Blair Klausmeyer. This bill was previously heard on November 1st and November 15th. We've amended it at both those meetings. As you will recall, the purpose of this bill is to reinstate the provisions under Bills 9217 and 1518 that sunsetted with the adoption of the General Development Plan. As we noted with the amendments at the previous meetings, we did not fully include all the provisions, and so the bill is now ready to go. We do hope that we've made our point and would like to just stress one last time, the administration understands our school APF needs reform, which is why we have our work group. The purpose of this bill is to maintain the so-called status quo until that work group is done with their work and we can move forward in a more comprehensive manner. We hope that you will pass this bill tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. Are there any questions from the council? All right, seeing no questions, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 8521 as amended. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from the members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive anything ahead of time.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. I believe there is no one signed up to testify on this bill, but if there's anyone in the audience who would like to come forward, now would be the time to do so. All right. The public hearing on Bill number 8521 as amended is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of the bill, of Bill 8521 as amended.
Bill number 8521, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development, adequate public facilities, public schools.
And is there any further discussion? All right, seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 85-21 as amended.
Ms. Hare. Aye. Ms. Lacy.
Nay.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. Bill number 8521 is passed.
All right, thank you, Madam Secretary. Please read the title of Bill number 9421 as amended.
Bill number 9421, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development and zoning, Glen Burnie Sustainable Community Overlay Area, Transit-Oriented Overlay Development Policy Areas.
Ms. Pickard, this is your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bill 9421 is an amendment to Bill 6420, which established the Glen Burnie Sustainable Community Overlay Area. As a reminder, the intent of the original bill is to focus on revitalizing Glen Burnie and is intended to promote flexibility and creativity for redevelopment projects. The hope is to encourage the redevelopment of older, underutilized properties along key commercial corridors of Crane and Ritchie Highways and B&A Boulevard. The Glen Burnie overlay area uses the same mapped area approved by the state of Maryland as the boundary of the Glen Burnie Sustainable Community. This overlay legislation gives us a way to rethink redevelopment and revitalization in the Glen Burnie area. We've established a new set of incentives, added flexibility, and created a new concept plan review process with required community meetings. When presenting the original legislation, I mentioned that the code is a living document and there may be a need to make revisions as we go, which brings us to the current Bill 9421 before us tonight. With Bill 9421, the larger mapped area of the overlay remains unchanged from the original bill. The heart of the town center area of Glen Burnie was the original smaller portion allowed to be exempt from the school test, but only if certain conditions are met. This bill adds a second bit of the overall mapped area to that exemption criteria. The conditions are the same as the original bill and include the project must fall within the specific smaller inset mapped areas. The project must be a mix of uses, and if any kind of residential use is proposed for the project, no less than 50% of the dwelling units consist of efficiency or one-bedroom units, and no dwelling units have more than 2 bedrooms. The inset area added by this bill is the Cromwell area near the intersection of B&A Boulevard and Dorsey Road. The outline for this new area was determined by the intersection of the Transit-Oriented Development Policy Area and the Glen Burnie Sustainable Community Area. This Cromwell area is also a state TOD area. As I've said before, if we get lucky in Anne Arundel County and opportunity meets preparation, then our county code will acknowledge what redevelopment projects need in terms of incentives. This is another carrot to incentivize the private sector to invest in the Glen Burnie area. I hope that my colleagues will support this bill as a step towards creating the walkable, livable, sustainable community that will keep this area thriving into the next century. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I'd like to allow the admin an opportunity to respond.
Happy to, Madam Chair. Pete Barron with the administration. Joining me is most of the same team. We have Ms. Rhodes, our DCAO for land use, Mr. Kai Ziegler, Ms. Miller from OPZ. New to the table is Mr. Badami from IMP and Ms. Kenny from Office of Law. The administration would like to thank the sponsor for working with us on this bill. And the previous bill, it took a lot of effort to get it to where it is. As the sponsor noted, the amended bill takes a calculated and narrow approach to incentivize private redevelopment in a targeted area that needs it, and we support the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. Are there any questions from the council? Mr. Volkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if this is a question for the sponsor or the administration, but I have heard from members of the community that they have heard that in the shopping center, which falls within this mapped overlay area, specifically where the old Wendy's is there at the intersection of BNA and 8th Avenue, and the shopping center behind there, that there are plans to put in some kind of large affordable housing complex or something like that. I didn't know if the county had gotten any applications or if you had any information on that yet, but that's kind of the community scuttlebutt, what people are saying and what I've heard back from them.
That we have nothing on that. That sounds like rumor.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Ms. Pickard.
Yeah, for currently, the shopping center is privately owned, and it's about 50% occupied. So any sort of redevelopment would need to be jettisoned by the private owner, and I'm not aware of any movement. The only thing I have heard of late was someone approached me about the potential of a tenant fit out of the Giant, the newly vacant, or it's been vacant a while, of the Giant, but a tenant fit out of a vacant commercial building is not redevelopment, so it doesn't allow a tenant fit out the provisions of the bill. That's the scuttlebutt I've heard.
Ms. Lacey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since the shopping center part is in District 1, I can tell you from speaking with constituents in my district that they have for years thought that an affordable housing project was going to be built there, and that the Giant has been out of the picture for at least 3 years. They're sitting on a lease instead of allowing a sublease or something else useful to be happening in that area, which is really dragging down the entire center. But I think as part of the overall area, that section with the shopping center directly across from the Cromwell station and the train maintenance yard is of a very different character than the so-called heart of Glen Burnie, right? There's definitely a distinction there that I'm not sure. I think the lines are as continuous as this map may suggest when you actually spend time there. Just my opinion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. So I did have an opportunity to briefly chat with the sponsor this afternoon, and my question was regarding the potential yield of students with this bill. And I understand that there's no real way to estimate that because we haven't had a large-scale redevelopment project. And the comparison was Annapolis Town Center yielding, I think, 9 students for 1,100 units. Is there, does anyone have information on the Annapolis Town Center project when that legislation came to the council? Was there a limitation on the size of units or percentage of units that had to be 1 bedroom or efficiency or less? I'm just trying to see where the comparison is between. You see where I'm going?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm happy to.
Councilwoman Pickard, go ahead.
In the original bill, we looked closely at the parole town center provisions, and they're the same. We no more than 2 bedrooms. 50% have to be less. So there aren't. The only student yield that is specific to Glen Burnie that I can refer to is there is an apartment building within the town center currently that does have units that are 3 bedrooms, but that when you get the student yield from that apartment building from the Board of Education, there are 6 students in that building. So even with 3-bedroom units, that sort of town center living is not where families are residing. just not the way the town center of Annapolis has drawn families, and I would expect something similar in sort of transit-oriented development or town center development.
Thank you. Mr. Barron, would you like to add something?
No, I think the sponsor covered it well. I do recall discussions around parole in the development of the original bill.
Okay, your light was on.
Oh.
All right. Are there any additional questions from the council? All right. We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 85-21 as amended. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public? I'm sorry, did I read the wrong bill number?
I was just going to say, Madam Chair, we did not receive any submissions ahead of time on Bill number 9421 as amended.
Thank you, 9421. All right, so if there's no one who wishes to testify, is there anyone who would like to testify in the room who did not sign up? Come on down, Mr. Dahl. Thank you. All right, your remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. David Dahl, 534 Heavy Tree Hill, Silverton Park, Maryland, Chairman of the Anne Arundel County Libertarians. Libertarian Party Platform 2.1, Property and Contract. As respect for private property rights is fundamental to maintaining a free and prosperous society, it follows that the freedom to contract to obtain, retain, profit from, manage, or dispose of one's property must also be upheld. Libertarians would free property owners from government restrictions on their rights to control and enjoy their property as long as their choices do not harm or infringe on the rights of others. So I just want to congratulate Ms. Allison Pickard for making a very libertarian argument for deregulating to encourage the private sector. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, if there's no one else who wishes to speak, the public hearing on Bill number 94-21 as amended is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 94-21 as amended.
Bill number 9421, an ordinance concerning subdivision and development and zoning, Glen Burnie Sustainable Community Overlay Area, transit-oriented overlay development policy areas.
Is there any further discussion from my colleagues? Yes, Councilwoman Pickard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sorry, I didn't mean to wave, but I really would like to urge my colleagues' support on this. This is, we have seen a real desire for redevelopment and revitalization in some of our older commercial corridors, and the Glen Burnie Sustainable Community Overlay is serving as somewhat of a pilot. And I just, after listening to Secretary Slater with the Maryland Department of Transportation discussing the opportunities for transit-oriented development, but also just to create a thriving community in my district into the next century. I don't know if these ingredients are going to produce anything, to be honest. But if we do nothing, I fear that vacancy rates will continue. I'm looking forward to seeing some additional projects come through the overlay, as we've seen a couple others have been successful. So I'm just urging your support tonight, and thank you for your consideration.
Councilwoman Lacey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, I can't support this bill. The area that's being added is, I think not actually in my district, and it's adjacent because this town center area does affect both District 1 and District 2. But they are within the same region for small area plans, and I think that's the more appropriate place to further tweak what we did with Bill 6420, which I did support. I don't think this is a productive use of our time when really the main driver of the vacancy at the shopping center that's across from the Cromwell station doesn't have to do with housing, and it doesn't have to do with transit-oriented development. There are a lot of other factors that go into a commercial landlord's decision-making process, And I just don't think this little bit is going to make the difference. What I'd rather see this council do is consider how it relates, the area overall relates to the light rail station, which we can do when we receive recommendations from a regional planning group.
Councilwoman Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amanda Fiedler, District 5. So the concerns that I have heard from the 5th District are related to the school exemption. Any bill that has a school exemption for the APFO test does raise red flags. But where I see a difference here is that there's already, as with redevelopment, there are existing structures that are adding another layer or challenge, if you will, to build here, which is why we don't see a lot of redevelopment happen in the county. If anyone could share, maybe from OPZ, some of the challenges. I mean, you have to get a permit to tear things down. To tear one address or tax ID structure down, you have to go through a permit process. It's not as easy as one would think to start with a already built structure. If anybody could lend some insight.
I'll ask some folks to join the table.
Thank you.
So good evening, Steve Kaisigler, Planning and Zoning Officer. I'll start, and perhaps Ms. Miller can add in on things that I don't cover, but any site that is already developed, it occurred sometime in the past, and it presents structural challenges. If you're going to tear down buildings, that's an expensive proposition. You have to go through a permitting process. There may be underlying environmental features that we would not like to see redisturbed. There may be impervious area limitations that cause problems. It's more expensive often to redevelop than to build in a greenfield, and so there's cost constraints on the developer who's willing to take that on. There's often a significant amount of, I'm going to say, social opposition to whatever is being proposed. Generally, it can be more costly, it can be more difficult, more time-consuming. So from a developer's perspective, it may be the places where they try and avoid going, except that the governments, wherever I've worked, and I think you all know this, that's where we want development to occur. We want it to occur as redevelopment. So the government is always trying to find ways to incentivize development in those areas, whether it's reductions in permitting fees, reductions in impervious coverage, speeding up the development review process by expedited processes. We try a whole bunch of things, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work as well, and sometimes they don't work at all. So what you see is a series of legislative initiatives to try and, if you want to say, close the gap to facilitate more redevelopment to occur. So those are some things that come to my mind quickly, and I don't know if Lynn has more she'd want to add.
Good.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilwoman Pickering.
So I think I'm living and breathing the challenges of redevelopment up and down these older commercial corridors, and they're quite real and they're quite substantial. But I want to point out one of the key points in the Glen Burnie Sustainable Overlay is this added initial concept plan by allowing an investor or developer to come to the community and a joint meeting with the community and planning and zoning and propose a more like a rendering of their idea than full-on engineered plans, which hopefully, one, saves them time and expense, and then with the community input and engagement at that earlier stage can incorporate the community issues or concerns. And the process so far has worked really well. I've been engaged in 2 projects to date, and everything from the one on Ritchie Highway where the neighbors in the back were concerned about noise or concerned about new landscaping and water runoff. They were able to address those, and shaded fencing, lots of issues that the community themselves brought up that the project sponsor adopted early and is moving through the process now. And then the second project, where the project is moving forward quite nicely, and the most community engagement that they're dealing with is a community cat issue, where the project sponsor is working very closely with an elderly woman who's been caring for community cats on the property, and they're trying to slowly move this herd of cats, or I'm sure I'm not using the proper term, but they're being very responsive to the community, and I think it comes from that original meeting, and I think it's a real benefit to both the community engagement when we're talking about redevelopment. So I just wanted to, obviously I'm very passionate about this work, and I really hope to get everyone's support tonight, so thank you.
Councilman Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to point out, Councilwoman Lacey is correct that the majority of this overlay is in her district. It's in precincts 1-9 and 1-3, and there's a little sliver of it that goes down into 216, which is Councilwoman Pickard's area. So I did want to point that out.
Is there any further discussion? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 94-21 as amended.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Lacey.
Nay.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. Bill number 9421 is passed.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 96-21. And admin, this is your bill.
Bill number 9621, an ordinance concerning Cedarhurst on the Bay Shore Erosion Control District, approval of loan and assignment agreement.
Admin, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pete Barron with the administration. Joining me is our budget officer, Mr. Chris Trumbauer, and Ms. Lori Blair Klausmeyer from the Office of Law. Bill 9621 will allow Cedarhurst Shore Erosion Control District to refinance the loan approved by Bill 90-17 used for the maintenance of a shore erosion, bulkhead, and dredging project. The current loan would provide the community with a lower interest rate over the 6-year term. The administration does have one amendment, which I'll discuss at the appropriate time, and we'll ask that you move the amendment this evening.
Are there any questions from the council at this time? All right, we will now open the public hearing on Bill number 96-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive any testimony ahead of time on Bill number 9621.
Thank you. We will now open the public hearing. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. We had no one sign up in advance for this. Is that correct? But I see Ms. Johnson coming down and possibly some other interested folks. Come on down if you're interested in testifying on 96-21. You may go ahead, state your name and address for the record, and you will have 2 minutes.
Okay. My name is Skip Miano. My address is 1193 Cedar Avenue, Cedarhurst on the Bay, Shadyside, Maryland. I was told that this was going to be postponed to the 20th, and I just happened to show up tonight. This loan is just pretty much basically what they said. We are buying out the loan. We're buying it for a lower interest rate. We went from, we're going down to a 3.87 from a 5.8, which saves us a lot of taxpayer dollars as far as the interest rates go. We can pay the loan off in 5 years instead of 6. We ran into a little bit of snag because the original loan was from Sandy Springs. We're transferring over to Severance Bank. Severance Bank is now combining with Shore United Bank. Okay, it's just, I mean, it happens all the time. So the paperwork has been filed. I've been working with Janae Molden, very good. She's helped me through this this process of getting this done. We missed the deadline because our payment was due on December 1st, so we ended up having to pay the the principal and the interest, which came up to like $68,000, and $20,000 of that plus was for interest only. We can bring that interest rate down to about $15,000, and of course, as the years go on, the interest rates goes lower and lower and lower. And I'd really like to see this bill passed tonight, and then I'll have to come back on the 20th. But I really didn't know this was going to be heard tonight. I just happened to, come by. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Johnson.
Julie Johnson, P.O. Box 6634, Annapolis, Maryland. I do support, communities taking an active role in trying to protect their shorelines from the advancing, water depth, or the advance of water across the shoreline and into what we had called, dry land in the past. But from what I can see, I don't hear anybody talking about this research on the glaciers. And it used to be they thought glaciers melted from the top down, and that was, and based on that, this gave you a slower rate of melting and therefore a lower rate of sea level rise. But there have been a couple of things that were discovered. One is a glacier over Scandinavian fjord, and it is melting from the bottom up. And in 1 year, it melted 80 feet, which is a huge amount of water and a much bigger change than any of the research projected. And then in the Antarctic, in a very remote area, where there's a very large glacier called Thwaites Glacier, and that thing is melting from the bottom up, and it appears that there is a large hunk of this which may break loose at an undetermined time, but it's so large it can impact sea level. So, if the people in Cedarhurst want to go for this, bless their hearts. I would encourage any help that you can provide them. But on the other hand, you don't want to be encouraging a major investment in something that, with a little bit of additional knowledge and design, would be a much superior product and be a more effective use of those citizens' money. So thank you so much. And Shadyside's a wonderful community. Great clips.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. All right. If there's no one else in the audience that wishes to speak, the public hearing on Bill number 96-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 96-21.
Bill number 9621, an ordinance concerning Cedarhurst on the Bay Shore Erosion Control District approval of loan and assignment agreement.
All right, I understand that there is one amendment.
You have to pick who you're going to recognize.
This is, all right, Councilman Volke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to address a comment to the gentleman from Cedarhurst on the Bay. So you'd mentioned that you heard this was going to get pushed off, and it is technically going to get pushed off. The amendment that is coming in that we're going to have to consider is not considered a technical amendment, so we have to vote on it tonight, and then we have to bring this back 2 weeks later. So you didn't get bad information, even though it may seem that way. I know sometimes our proceedings seem a little like, what in the world's going on up here? But that's what's happening. So unfortunately, it will come back in 2 weeks, and we will have to hear it again. But I just wanted to clarify that for you so you don't feel like somebody played a rope-a-dope on you and said this was, not going to happen, and then it did. So that's what's going on here. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Councilman Volke. Mr. Barron.
Yeah, just to add my thanks to Councilman Volke for explaining our convoluted procedures. Is this the appropriate time for me to discuss the amendment?
That would be great. No, we need to. Thank you. Madam Secretary, could you please read the amendment?
Amendment number 1. This amendment changes the name of the bank extending the loan because on November 1st, 2021, Severn Savings Bank was acquired by Shore United Bank.
All right. And now, Mr. Barron.
Yeah, thank you. Madam Chair, as a reminder, this bill was introduced to this council on November 1st, 2021.
All right. Is there a motion to adopt? Councilwoman Hare.
I just have a question for Madam Klossmeyer, I believe, for Ms. Klossmeyer, about the name change. I assume in some of the merger documents or whatever the name change was, there's some kind of conforming that if you refer to one, you're really referring to the new one. And so my question is, legally, do we really need this amendment, or can we vote on this tonight without the amendment? It will have the same effect because we've referred to the old entity and it will automatically be read as the new entity.
Point of order, Madam Chair. I think we have to
Go ahead,
decide if we're
Councilman
going to take the amendment, and then we can discuss the amendment. We can debate the amendment. But I think we have to actually get a
yes.
motion in a second on the amendment before we can discuss the impact of the amendment.
All right, so is there a motion to
So
adopt
moved.
the amendment?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second, Allison Pickard.
All right, is there any discussion? I think we can.
Can I just repeat what I said before, Ms. Klossmeyer?
Sure. Lori Blair, Klossmeyer, Deputy County Attorney. I have not seen the merger documents, so I don't know exactly what they say. The bank is the one that informed us of this. We would not have gone through this if they hadn't been the ones to raise it, and they have reissued the commitment letter from Shore United Bank doing business as Severn Bank.
Okay, all right, that's helpful, thank you.
All right, is there any further discussion? All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 1.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Lacy.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 is adopted.
All right, so bill number 96-21 as amended will be heard on December 20th, 2021. Moving on, Madam Secretary, please read the title of bill number 97-21.
Bill number 9721, an ordinance concerning personnel, benefits, annual leave.
All right, this is an admin bill. Go ahead, Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Pete Barron with the administration. Joining me at the table is Ms. Badowski, Mr. Trumbauer, and Ms. Blair Klausmeyer is sticking with me, although she gave me a little bit of a fright when she got up. And the purpose of Bill 9721 is to amend the Personnel Code to permit the use of annual leave accrued as of the end of pay period calendar year 2021. This is the pay period that ends December 22nd, 2021, during the first pay period of calendar year 22. So that would be able to be used December 23rd to January 5th. I think you're aware there's a couple of holidays during those times. Additionally, the bill would permit employees entitled to accumulation of annual leave accrued to carry over 40 days of annual leave accrued as of the end of pay period calendar 21 into pay period calendar year 22. The annual leave that we're discussing here is leave that the employees have earned. As a reminder, this is similar to a move that the county executive instituted at the end of last year. However, with the COVID emergency, we did that under the emergency powers. This is, now that those powers are gone, this requires a bill. The administration will be bringing forward an amendment, which I'm happy to discuss at the appropriate time. Happy to answer any questions, and we'll be asking you to move the amendment and bring this bill back next meeting.
All right, Mr. Volkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volkey, District 3. Just to make sure I understand, this is an uncodified bill, so basically this is a one-time thing. It's only applying to this 1 year, and it will not be something in the code going forward.
That is correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we will now open the public hearing on bill number 97-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive any testimony on bill number 9721 ahead of time.
All right, I believe there was no one signed up in advance. If there is anyone here who would like to speak, please come up to the table and state your name and address for the record. I see no one moving. The public hearing on bill number 97-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 97-21.
Bill number 9721, an ordinance concerning personnel, benefits, annual leave.
Thank you. I understand there is one amendment. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 1.
Amendment number 1. This amendment allows the carryover of personal leave days from pay period calendar year 2021 and use during the first pay period of pay period calendar year 2022.
All right, Admin, this is your amendment to your bill. Tell us whatever you would like.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is in the same spirit, except this will allow the carryover of personal leave days. Again, this is leave employees have earned. This is not creating new leave.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to adopt?
Motion to adopt, Councilman Peruski.
Second, Allison Pickard.
Is there any discussion? Councilman Volke.
Just one question again. Thank you, Madam Chair. Nathan Volke, District 3. This will also be uncodified, so same thing, not going to be carried over into the code? Okay, thank you.
Confirm, yes.
Any additional questions? All right, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 1.
Ms. Hare. Aye. Ms. Lacy.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 is adopted.
All right, Bill number 97-21 as amended will be heard on December 20th, 2021. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 98-21.
Bill number 9821, an ordinance concerning boards, commissions, and similar bodies, Human Relations Commission, student member.
All right, Admin, again, your bill. You may have the floor.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Joining me is Ms. Asha Smith, our Equal Opportunity and Human Relations Officer, and Ms. Lori Blair Klausmeyer is sticking with me. Bill 9821 makes the student member to the Human Relations Commission a voting member. This request comes at, This change comes at the request of the commission. The addition of the student member will bring the total voting members to 12, which was an even number. So to keep it at an odd number, the bill also adds the executive director of ACDS as a voting member of the commission. This was suggested after discussions with the HRC chairman. The administration does have one amendment to propose to the bill, which we will discuss at the appropriate time. How'd I do, Ms. Smith?
Quite well, thank you.
All right, are there any questions from the council? We will now open the public hearing on Bill number 98-21. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we did not receive any submissions ahead of time on Bill number 9821.
All right, again, I believe there was no one signed up in advance, but if there is anyone here, I see Ms. Johnson coming on down. Come up to the table. You know the drill. You'll have 2 minutes to speak after you state your name and address.
There are plenty of chairs. You guys could stand, you know?
They're very formal.
Yes, they are. And, okay, but excuse me, Julie Johnson, P.O. Box 6634, Annapolis, Maryland. I wouldn't have testified except that I think that it's really important to show that there is community support for having the student member being a voting member of the commission. And therefore, I strongly support this, and I do encourage your passing this. Thank you so much.
All right, seeing no additional movement in the audience, the public hearing on Bill number 98-21 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 98-21.
Bill number 9821, an ordinance concerning boards, commissions, and similar bodies, Human Relations Commission, student member.
All right, there is one amendment. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 1.
Amendment number 1. This amendment allows the executive director of Arundel Community Development Services, Inc. to designate a person to act on their behalf for the commission.
All right, is there a motion to adopt?
So moved, Lacy.
Pickard, second.
Is there any discussion on the amendment? I guess actually, Admin Mike, you take the floor and make a statement as you wish.
Sure. As the description says, it's a pretty straightforward amendment. In considering the bill as drafted, it came to our attention that the current executive director of ACDS, as you all know, is retiring, and we haven't spoken about this role to, well, we haven't named the new executive director, so we don't know how they will feel. But one thing was clear, there are a number of folks at ACDS with a lot of expertise that they could bring to the table. So feeling like, since we are naming a title here as the executive director of the Community Development Corporation, it would be wise to allow them to designate somebody, especially as we are bringing on a new executive director. So hope that you will support this amendment.
Thank you. Councilwoman Hare.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just, do we do this? And I can't think of other commissions where we allow someone, I mean, if we've confirmed an appointment where we would then allow someone to designate their authority elsewhere.
I'll have to turn to the law if there are other examples.
Lori Blair, Classmeyer, Deputy County Attorney. It's not unusual in the ex officio type of appointment because for there to be a designee, because this isn't someone where you're specifically designating, you're specifically appointing someone from the public or something like that. Those, we have none where that occurs, but in an ex officio type of position based on the position within the county, that's not unusual.
Okay, thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions from my colleague, from my colleagues, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 1.
Ms. Hare.
Aye.
Ms. Lacy.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 is adopted.
All right, Bill number 98-21 as amended will be heard on December 20th, 2021. And I'm terrible with numbers, but Bill number 99-21, that's the one we heard already. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see. So moving forward to resolution number 61-21. Madam Secretary, please read the title of resolution number 61-21.
Resolution number 6121, resolution approving the nomination for reappointment of a member to the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission.
Again, Admin, this is your resolution. You may have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sticking with me is Ms. Blair Classmeyer. As noted, this is a reappointment. Mr. Clapsaddle has served well on the Human Relations Commission. The administration would like to reappoint him. He resides in District 5 in Councilwoman Fiedler's district. You should have his resume in your packet, and hope you will move the resolution tonight.
Any further discussion from my colleagues? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on resolution number 61-21.
Ms. Hare. Aye. Ms. Lacy.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Nay.
Mr. Pruski.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
6 in the affirmative, 6 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. Resolution number 6121 is adopted.
All right, is there any other business to be brought before the council at this time? I see a couple lights. Are those from previous votes? No, okay, so no other business. I'll just thank my colleagues for being patient with me on my first night as chair, getting into a groove. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second, Allison Pickard.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. The county council is adjourned until December 14th, the 14th, 2021, when we will convene for a virtual work session.